Channel Z and Knox Brew Hub present Knox Brew Radio and Podcast, an in-depth look at the craft beer scene in Knoxville and the latest craft beer news from around the country and all over the world. Brought to you by First Century Bank, family-owned local banking since 1894. And by longtime friends of the show, Grayson Subaru. Broadcasting live from the Hub in downtown Knoxville every Monday at 6 p.m. And now, kick back and crack one open with local beer's best friends, Zach Roskop and Stryker.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Knox Brew Radio. And we appreciate you joining us here live at Knox Brew Hub at 421 Union Avenue, right around the corner from Market Square. And to those here joining us live, we appreciate you. And I'm going to toast early. Woo! We had a total of 10 toasts last episode. So
10?
If we start early, we can beat that record. So cheers to you all joining us down here tonight.
I'll drink to that. Cheers.
Oh, I love that so much. Those of you listening live on Channel Z, thanks for joining us as well. We like to have a good time every single Monday at 6 o'clock where we sit down at the Hub and drink some beer and do one of our favorite things to do, and that is to drink beer.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm joined, as always, by our wonderful producer. Mama calls me Kevin, a.k.a. Just Kevin, a.k.a. Not Just Kevin, a.k.a. Stryker.
So many names in so little time.
A man of many hats.
I guess.
And joining me to my left, we have the wonderful Candace Preston.
The ace of beers.
Hey, everybody.
Thanks for joining us. We want to take a quick moment and say a huge thank you to our sponsors for making this show possible. Their continued support honestly makes our dreams come true. We get to do this every single Monday as a big thanks to them. So Grayson Subaru, who has been a huge supporter of Knox Brew Tours, as well as this radio show, we want to say a big thank you to them. If you're looking for an epic Subaru, they're the best place in town to get one.
Yeah.
So we want to say a quick shout out to Dan and the crew at Grayson Subaru.
Thank you, Dan.
And then also First Century Bank. First Century Bank is a wonderful local downtown family-owned bank that's helped out a lot with Knox Brew Tours and Knox Brew Hub. It's kind of funny how our relationship with both of those businesses was started many years ago. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just recently. So a big shout out to them and their continued support.
Thanks for helping make our dreams come true.
Yes, thank
Both
you.
of you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And also Hall & Oates for making our dreams come. Okay. That was too easy. It was too easy. All right, we've got a very important announcement to make here that no one... I did this a couple weeks ago, where I planned something and didn't tell any of you about it.
You're so good at that. You excel at that.
I have another example of that. So I'm happy and excited to announce to everyone here and to everyone listening at home that Candace has been advertised as a guest co-host, but that is no longer the case.
Nope. You're fired.
Surprise!
Candace will now be joining us every Monday. She's available as an official host of Knox Brew Radio.
Yes.
So,
welcome to the team.
Want to know what's even crazier? That's news to me, too.
So
Cheers to that.
I'll drink to that. Cheers.
Yeah, I'll drink to that.
Cheers, thanks.
I also wanted to take a moment to highlight another member of the wonderful Knox Brew Radio team. An individual who's very behind the scenes, but...
He makes us all look great.
He does. He also pointed himself out with his wonderful graphics. Over here behind Just Kevin, we have our wonderful video producer, Cam Molladork.
Hi,
Cam, thanks so much for hanging out.
Cam! The aptly named Cam.
As soon as we finish this episode, we are going to be scheduling when we're going to have Cam on the show.
Yes.
So we'll be getting to know him better as well very soon.
Yeah.
It'll be a great time. Yeah. We need to get Cam on mic over there.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm going to need a bigger board.
We're going to need a bigger board. All right, folks, let's dive straight into it with this week's Brew News.
All right.
All right, this is a fun story. I think we're going to see a lot of this, and I think it's only a matter of time before we see an example of this in Knoxville. Out of Charlotte, a brewery has offered a free beer to anyone who gets fully vaccinated as a way to motivate an individual to get fully vaccinated. We're seeing stories like this all over the country as far as saying, okay, you do this, we'll do that. What do you guys think about that? Is that a good thing?
I mean, I think it's a good idea, being incentivized.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like a major donut chain?
I was
going to
say Krispy Kreme
they
blazed
offered
that
people
trail.
Donuts, but
Yeah.
I mean, donut, beer, probably beer. Yeah.
So yeah, that's happening. The name of the brewery,
maybe both.
Let me see here. Town Brewing Company is offering a free beer for anyone that shows proof of full vaccination.
All right. Well, if you could just go ahead and enter that into my Waze app, I will head there after the show because I got my dose number 2 today.
Hey,
So, yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you.
I definitely think this is something that we're going to see a lot more of.
Yeah.
And in a way, I could see how there could be some people that might have some issues with it.
Yeah.
But overall, if we are encouraging and motivating people to get the vaccine so that we can finally end this pandemic, I'm all for it.
And get back to beer festivals.
Absolutely.
And music festivals.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And just hanging out with friends drinking beer. Just
And then
back
there's that.
to that.
Yeah.
So, to Town Brewing Company, I'll drink to that.
I'll drink
I'll
to that
drink
too.
to
Cheers.
Cheers.
This is a drinking radio show.
Yes, it is. It's
All
becoming
right.
a drinking game.
Candace, what do you got for us today?
So, piggybacking off of what my brew news was last week, so Shandy is poised for a revival fueled by thirst for no and low alcohol beer. So this was posted in The Guardian. So this is over in Europe, but it's something that's definitely being seen over in the U.S. as well. So the trend of no to low alcohol, affectionately called no-low beers and beverages, are becoming extremely popular, and there's actually been a 50% increase over the past year. So a lot of the younger generations are just trying to be more healthful. They're kind of staying away from alcohol, and then again, you have the people who are just trying to drink a little bit more responsibly. So that's a trend that we're definitely going to see on the rise more and more as time goes by.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons to drink a non-alcoholic or a low-alcoholic beer, and whatever
Yeah.
that reason is, it doesn't matter. I think it's cool that those individuals are getting more and more options weekly.
Yeah, so it's not, as we discussed, punishment. It actually tastes pretty delicious. I've been able to try some pretty decent non-alcoholic beers. And
I'm waiting for someone to ask for a non-alcoholic seltzer so that I can just slap them and say, those are called seltzers. They've existed for a long time. It's
Yeah.
called
I
LaCroix.
can't believe you said that out loud. Because it's going to happen.
It's totally going to. So I started using the expression soft seltzer, which sounds weird, but it's the opposite of a hard seltzer.
Right.
soft seltzer.
It's just bubbly. It's just
That's
LaCroix.
that, that LaCroix stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Comes in a lot of flavors. Yeah.
Now, I've heard here that your segment for the Brew News happens to be seltzer related.
It's the return of Stryker's That Damn Seltzer report. This time there's a new heavyweight entering the game. And from the San Diego Chronicle to the New York Post, from websites from brewbound.com to brobible.com, they're all talking about the latest entry into the seltzer wars. Even Snopes weighed in on this one when the news broke because it sounded too bad to be true. In fact, I got a hangover just reading about it. Mark Anthony Brand's White Claw came out swinging when they hit the market in 2016, kicking off the hard seltzer wars, and followed and inspired the. I can't even read my own writing. They kicked off the seltzer wars that followed and inspired seemingly every beverage manufacturer on the planet to field their own version. Even Zima came back briefly in 2017
True.
and 2018. But with so many competitors jockeying for position in the marketplace, White Claw has come out swinging again in 2021 with White Claw Surge, a bigger and stronger version of the original. Surge comes in at a hefty 8% alcohol by volume and comes in a 16-ounce can as opposed to the original 12-ounce version. Add
Wow.
those two factors together, and the new White Claw Surge has slightly over twice as much alcohol as its predecessor.
That's a $9 White Claw.
It's a 113% increase, to be exact, and it comes in 2 intoxicating flavors: cranberry and blood alcohol. No, excuse me, that's blood orange. Blood orange. A TikToker named Lauren Powell, who is a self-proclaimed seltzpert, put them to the test and weighed in at a whopping 0.097 blood alcohol content after 3. She was trying to get to 0.08. She got to 0.097 after 3 of them. I really hope that her little experiment doesn't become the next internet trend, or we're all in a lot of trouble. And speaking of, your kid's soccer game just got a hell of a lot more interesting now that Mama Karen has super soldier serum running through her veins. So, yay, White Claw Surge.
I think the only part of that story I'm disappointed in is when you said Surge, I immediately imagined the soda Surge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't hate to have that.
I think
in
they should have
alcoholic
called
form.
it like, Scourge.
It did, yeah. Surge did come back for a second. All right. I'm excited to hear what you have to report on next week's This Damn Seltzer Report.
I hope nothing. But
nothing.
there's always something. So we'll
all
just
right.
see what happens.
That's it for this week's Brew News. Hey, we are live right now, back on the radio.
Like the sign says.
As all right, that was our good friend Barry Faust right there that made appearance on the camera. He's joining us down here live, as he does, as always. He was our first musical guest on our second show where he opened the show up with the national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, on the harmonica. Thanks for joining us, Coach. We appreciate you. Well, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm not going to waste any time. I'm super excited about our next guest. So we're going to dive right into it. Sitting at the table here, a man of many talents and a good friend of mine. We have so many wonderful memories together.
Yeah, we do, buddy.
Hanging out at the table with us right now is Johnny Miller. Johnny, thanks for joining us today.
Man, thanks so much for having me, dude. I've been really looking forward to this. So here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So a couple weeks ago, the idea crossed my mind that maybe somebody should interview you. You're always talking and asking the questions, but there's a lot about you that people should know. And yeah, right. So I just thought, let's put it out on the table or on the air.
Absolutely.
So frightening yet wonderful.
Yeah,
so
right.
Yeah, we're gonna
put him right on the edge.
We're gonna flip the script a little bit and give Johnny full control of Knox Brew Radio. The next 30 minutes or so are yours, sir. But before we do that, we do need like a 2-second rundown of who you are.
Sure. 2-second rundown. My name is Johnny Miller. I've worked extensively throughout the beer industry for a long time. No longer in the industry. Doing my own thing with a little woodworking here and there. So that's what I'm doing now. But I always love the beer industry, the people, especially you and what you're doing. So I'm always keeping my finger on the pulse of it.
There you go.
I love all these people.
I'll drink to that.
Best friend.
I'll drink
Cheers.
to that.
So I threw out on the internet and let people know that I was going to be doing this interview and asked if I could get some questions. And Blues Man, actually, the guy who just walked up, he wanted me to ask you, who was your favorite high school teacher at Bearden? No pressure.
All the pressure. All the pressure.
Her name is Miss Phillips. No, I'm just kidding.
Nice.
No, this is a weird answer, but a truthful answer, especially if you know Coach Faust very well. He was actually my wellness teacher, and he is still teaching me wellness to this day.
You and me both.
So, Coach, thank you. I appreciate you, and I love you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers today. I'll drink to that. So let's really just reel it back in though. Where did it all start, Zach? You've released this new hat, the Knox Brew Hub beer and such, but you had a nice story to go along with that hat. Let's start there, man. I mean, I know you've been in the service industry for a long time. Your family-owned restaurants. Yeah. So where did it start, buddy?
It was the summer of 1988. A man named Fred and a woman named Trish. I'm just
I'm sorry I asked.
Hey, look, you want me to put on some mood music for this story?
Right.
And they were in
I was born at a very early age, and
0. This is fun already.
okay, so for real though, my family moved around a lot the first 3 years of my life. It was year 3 that we moved from Nashville to Knoxville to start Uncle Bud's Catfish Chicken and such.
Right.
After that, they owned several restaurants throughout my lifetime. They sort of did what I would call, people are usually very familiar with the idea of flipping a house. They would flip restaurants. So they would buy a space, they'd build it up, run it for a couple of years, sell it, buy a space, build it up, run it for a couple of years. For them, the thrill and the joy of owning a restaurant was the challenge of building the business, of creating something. They didn't want to find a restaurant and then just do that for 20 years. They liked the challenge.
Sure.
So that was most of my life growing up was in the restaurant industry. I remember having Thanksgivings at the restaurant. I remember asking my parents, I remember saying to my dad, I want to work in a restaurant. And he was like, okay, roll silverware. And I was like, I hate that. And then
sweep the floor.
He was like, okay, cut lemons. I was like, that sucks too. And then I was like, Dad, I want to work in the kitchen. And he'd be like, cool, here's 30 pounds of shrimp. And start peeling them. And I'd be like, no, I hate this also. And then he was like, here's a spreadsheet. Write down these numbers. And I hate that. I want to be a manager. Okay, long story short, very quickly, I said, Dad, this sucks. I don't ever want to work in a restaurant. And he goes, good.
Good. Perfect.
Yeah.
So we taught you well, right? Yeah, I get that completely. So
He told my brother and I we could do anything in the whole world we wanted except for open a restaurant.
Good.
And here
Wise
we
man.
are.
I was
We have a craft
just
beer
about to
bar,
ask. Yeah.
And we're selling sandwiches at
It
lunch.
starts with a steamer.
That's crazy. So let's talk about when you opened this place. So August 2nd, 2020, Knoxville closed all the bars and restaurants. What did you do that day?
I bought a restaurant.
That is the epitome of what I love about this man right here. That is bold and brave. So, man, I remember that night we came down and we opened that big
The Sierra Nevada.
Sierra Nevada celebration.
Yeah, okay.
We passed that around. Yeah.
Here's a part of the story that most people don't know.
Okay.
It was July 12th, less than 30 days from the day we signed the lease, that the idea of this place entered my mind legitimately.
Okay.
I was actually visiting family in Michigan and was making all these phone calls, and I was like, is this really going to, like, what is going to,
Yeah, I remember that.
There was 3 or 4 things that had to go exactly a certain way, or there was no chance this was ever going to work out.
Okay.
In that 14-ish day time period, all of those things happened exactly the way they needed to happen. And August 1st, I met the landlord in a parking lot and signed the lease, and he gave me a key. That entire process, from the idea of starting a bar to having a bar, was less than 18 days.
Wow. Incredible.
And people have asked me if I thought about this, like, has this been your plan all along?
Yeah, right.
Like, was this your plan 6 years ago? And I was
Sure.
like, no, it literally was not. And then I got that giant-ass bottle of Sierra Nevada
right.
Celebration Ale,
That's-
autographed by King Grossman, I'd like to add.
Yeah.
And
I was going to add it too.
we were trying to decide when would be the best time to drink it. I had a small gathering of friends on August 2nd, the night that I got the key to the space. You were one of the fine folks that joined me. We drank that whole bottle
Man, what a night.
very quickly, I might add. And then if you look up there above our bar, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Talk about that stuff.
In the shadow there is the first dollar bill ever spent here at Knox Brew Hub. Johnny Miller bought every single person at the bar that night a round of beer, and I only charged him $1. and he signed it, and it says Johnny Miller up there.
It does.
August 2nd, 2020.
Yeah, man. That was a night I'll never forget. Yep,
Yeah.
Yep, right.
You know, I had a very small coincidental part of this story on that night because I sent Zach a text that evening. I don't know if you recall this text.
I don't.
I said,
Surprise.
I said, Zach,
He doesn't recall
do you
much.
know how you
Oh,
could put me...
I do remember this. Okay, yeah.
I said, Zach, do you know how you could put me in touch with the current owners of Casual Pint downtown? Because I have a vision for opening up a
I remember
local
you talking about that.
brewer bar that features local beer. And he was like,
Oh my gosh, no way.
he was like, Kev, we need to talk.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
So
Funny.
this
So
is
once again, drat, foiled again.
this is a phrase I never thought I would ever hear. I love games. I love to play games. I like to play games all the time.
Sure.
And sometimes I like to not change the rules to benefit me, but to change the game, keep it fresh.
Yeah.
We were playing a drinking game that night.
That you invented.
Yes. And I changed the rules, and somebody was like, "You can't change the rules." And Mike goes, "Sure as heck can. It's his fucking bar."
His game.
I'll drink
His
to
rules.
that.
Cheers. I love it. Awesome. Well, there's a lot of space in between the time when you were working with your parents to the time you opened up the Knox Brew Hub.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. When did you fall in love with beer, and how did you decide that that's what your life was going to be surrounded with and your career would be focused on?
So what made me fall in love with beer was having a roommate who could legally purchase beer when I couldn't.
Nice.
And
That'll
the
do
only beer that he would purchase for me was Yuengling.
it. Okay.
And when I became 21, the only bar I could find in Knoxville that served Yuengling was Beard and Beer Market.
Okay.
So I went to Beard and Beer Market and just wore out the Yuengling tap until eventually it blew. And then I was like, okay, I guess I'm done. I can't drink beer anymore. They were like, well, have you tried Gaelic Ale? And I was like, I'll try it. Until that blew. And then they were like, have you tried Fat Tire? And from there, it just sort of exploded. I fell in love with the diversity of
Awesome.
the liquid. I fell in love with the variations and flavors. And more importantly, what really changed my life was when I started to fall in love with the culture and the community of craft beer.
Right.
And the relationships that I started to form that I still have to this day.
Awesome.
And that's really how my craft beer journey started.
Yeah, you mentioned community and the people, and that's really what I love most about the beer industry, especially in Knoxville. It's such a special place. I mean, look at these people. Anytime there's an event,
Look
you've
at all
always
these
got the
beautiful
support of these
people
people.
here.
Seriously, I mean, it's really incredibly unique.
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink
I'll
to that
drink
too. Cheers, y'all.
that.
Yep.
Cheers,
Yep,
everybody.
absolutely.
Thanks for being here.
And if I may, I mean, I was not at all surprised when you decided to open up a brewery. I remember one of the first conversations that we had, and you're like, oh my gosh, I miss being a bartender. I miss that feeling. So when I heard, I was not surprised. But
Yeah,
I mean,
right,
it's just another vessel for you to be able to build connection and community over beer. So yeah, it seems
makes
like the
perfect
right
sense.
move. Yeah.
Well, those of you who are familiar with Knox Brew Tours, probably I've gotten a lot of love and a lot of compliments, but something that someone said that really moved me was they felt like Knox Brew Tours was the spirit of craft beer in Knoxville.
I love that.
And now they felt like the spirit had a body to live in the hub. And
I love that.
How did that make you feel? Seriously. I mean,
It
to be
was-
the brainchild behind all of that.
It was very affirming. I'll say
Awesome.
that.
So let's talk about Knox Brew Tours. Things have been weird over the last year, obviously. So if you are able and willing, let's talk about Knox Brew Tours and what's next for Knox Brew Tours.
I will tell you that Candace and Oslo, the three of us, have been meeting weekly
Perfect. Okay.
for the past 3 weeks.
Okay.
Working
And
hard.
we've been working hard on relaunching Knox Brew Tours, and we have potentially some exciting news to share with the world soon.
Soon.
But not now.
But
Very
not yet.
soon.
That's fine.
Although I have a word on the street observation. I was hanging out at Last Days of Autumn the other day,
Yeah,
and I
can't really
noticed
hide
they
that
had more parking available than normal
is
because of
that
the
right?
absence
thank
of
you,
a
sir.
series
Appreciate that.
of certain buses.
So I've been curious about the fleet too. So that leads me to believe that maybe there's some service and maintenance. happening.
I didn't ask the buses. They weren't there to talk to me for
Fine,
an interview, but they're on the move.
I'll
Well,
just
I'm
say-
real excited to hear that, man.
Yeah, I'll say the Last Days of Autumn is a great brewery, but they're not a great mechanic.
Hey, after the Gambler 500 this past weekend, Mike would agree with
Did
you.
you see that thing he built? The Chevada? It was a half Chevy truck and a half
Chevada,
a
yeah.
Miata? What is
Yeah.
that? I mean, who even comes up with something like that?
Well,
That
yeah, Mike.
I will give you one.
Right.
I will give you one little teaser, Johnny.
Okay.
One thing that I know I'm excited about, and I think Candace is too, is when we relaunch Knox Brew Tours, it's going to be more than just a guided brewery tour company.
Awesome.
We hope to be expanding into some events
Okay.
that are going to be focused around beer dinners, mystery date nights,
Awesome.
other activities that highlight local beer and create a memorable experience.
I remember a few years ago you had talked about Knox Brew Adventures, and I took a group
that
whitewater
hopefully-
rafting.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome.
So
Love
we
that.
acquired
Yeah,
a
such a cool
trailer
idea.
during COVID
Okay.
that we hope to utilize doing mountain biking shuttles and kayak shuttles and trips to the national park and all things that can involve local craft
Awesome.
beer as
Awesome. Well, how can people find out more about that? Should they follow your social media?
well. Candace, take it away.
What's up, Grady?
Yes, definitely. Please follow our socials of Knox Brew Tours, Knox Brew Stories, Knox Brew Hub. I mean, definitely keep an eye on us. We've got some really exciting things to announce in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, they do.
Awesome. So, Stryker,
Oh, Lord.
Mama calls you Kevin, a.k.a.
That's the
You
rumor.
name it, man.
She calls me a lot of other things that we can't say on the radio, but Kevin's the one
Fair
we
enough.
can, yeah.
Nice. So you've got quite a bit of experience in the radio world, right? So tell me about that. Talk about that.
I was raised an only child, so when around the age of 6, my parents got me a little record player that had a little microphone you plug into the side. I would occupy my time by playing my parents' records, and then as I flipped them, I would play DJ and introduce the songs while I was flipping the record.
That's awesome.
And
Cutest thing I've
and
ever
it
heard.
was
Yeah, I'd
my
love to see that.
my favorite game, and I've been playing it ever since.
That's awesome. So, I met you at Saltworks. It had to be 7-8 years ago, something like that, and you were with 94.3 at that
Yeah,
time.
it's been a hot minute.
Yeah,
94Z was kind of the terrestrial predecessor to Channel Z.
Okay,
And
got it.
then when ownership saw the infinite wisdom to sell it to a national conglomerate and plug it into an iPod and call it Jack FM, Me and my cohorts were
Not to name
standing in
anything
the unemployment line one afternoon and decided, a lot of things are moving towards the internet. We have the music, we have the DJs, we have the relationships around town.
Yeah.
So Channel Z was born from the ashes of 94Z.
Okay.
But yeah, prior to that, I've, a lot of people in my business go from town to town, like the theme song from, WKRP in Cincinnati, town to town, up and down the dial. I was raising a family in Knoxville, so I didn't want to leave town. So I just jumped frequency to frequency. So I've worked for pretty much every major station in Knoxville at one time or another.
Awesome.
And currently running Channel Z. So.
Nice. So my question for you is the name Stryker.
Yes.
Yes. Was that a given name? And
It was.
where did it come from? Tell me about it.
It came from, coincidentally enough, this guy has been calling me the last few weeks, Just Kevin.
Just kidding. I like that,
but
too.
At 94.3, the X, the previous incarnation of, sometimes, when you're doing the laps around all the stations in town.
Wait, did you
have
skip
to hit
Y?
the same station twice? No, I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
Because I was on 94.3 twice, it was two different radio stations. And the boss at one of them was a guy named Just Shane. And Shane sat me down for an interview, and I came in and I talked, and he's called me in for a second interview. And both times, I was wearing like those bowling-style shirts. So he said, do you have a radio name that you favor? And I was like, well, I've got a couple I've used in the past at different stations. He goes, how about Stryker?
I like
because I was wearing bowling shirts.
Man, I'm glad I asked. That all makes sense to me now.
So I said, yeah, sure, whatever, man. As long as you're signing my check every week, you can call me whatever you want.
I love it.
And as long as you're not putting Stryker on the check.
Right.
So I'm going to connect that name to Knox Brew Hub. So here at Knox Brew Hub, you've got the Knox Brew Market, you've got the hub, but you've also got the Knox Brew subs.
Yes.
Right. So you do a sub of the day. Currently, it's the Ingle, named after Adam Ingle, the brewer at Alliance.
That launches tomorrow. Yeah.
Right. So if there was a sub called the Stryker, what would be on that sub?
It's funny. I've actually thought about this before.
I figured you had.
And it would be very similar to the Ingle. I used to hang my hat at Paul's Market and Deli on Clinton Highway. Okay. So I've spent my time in the trenches as a deli guru. And my go-to sub was a version of the hoagie that had ham, corned beef, salami, Swiss cheese, steamed with extra steam, mayo and mustard on a white bun, and so that would be the Stryker.
Nice, good.
Coming soon.
I was about to say, can we expect that on the menu?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. But
sounds tasty.
It makes me wonder what would be on the Miller.
Oh, that's a great question. Well, man, that's a really good question.
Too bad you're not being interviewed today.
Right, exactly right. Yeah, moving right along. So something I want to ask you, going back to Knox Brew Tours. So you've been obviously in communication with the local breweries. How are they feeling? I mean, after COVID and things are starting to open back up, are they being still obviously being careful, but are they being more open to bringing groups in?
Yeah, I'll speak to this briefly, and then Candace has been working a lot with them. I'd like to
have Candace answer that question if she'd like.
I'll say that we've reached out to them and gotten verbal yeses from pretty much everybody.
Awesome. Good.
I think what has helped with that is that we are setting a time frame that I think is really realistic. That's not tomorrow.
Okay.
And so they're like, yes, if things continue to go in the right direction, we'll be ready to go by that timeline.
Awesome.
I think another thing that's really helped, and I'm thankful for this, is that most of our breweries' employees are fully vaccinated.
That's awesome, man.
And so interacting with the tour is less concerning to them as it would have been 6 months
Obviously,
ago.
yeah. I got to hang out at Alliance yesterday with Blues Band that we talked to earlier and Mitchell, and it was just a group of people, and it felt so good to just kind of feel like some sense of normalcy is coming back. I could hug my friends, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really awesome, man.
But Candace has been reaching out to them individually as we're in the process of reconnecting with them because we haven't worked with them for over a year.
Okay.
And then also something that didn't happen before COVID was we didn't get a chance to onboard Next Level and Orange Hat and Zool and Geezers. So
and
we
Gypsy
now
Circus.
and Gypsy Circus. So we
Man.
now have 5 new businesses that we are starting with from scratch.
Sure, that's awesome.
Candace, what do you want to add to that? Feel free.
And I
to.
guess what's 5, and that's Beard and Beer Market.
Oh, and Beer and Beer Market.
That's right. The
6.
brew house.
Well, an old favorite that's been around quite a while in Knoxville that, if you recall, might be interested in starting the tour operations.
That's true as well.
Yeah. So big things.
That's
Sorry, go
7.
ahead, Candace.
7.
Well, and this puts a lot of work on Candace and I, but people are always like, hey, there's a new brewery. That's great for you guys, right? And we're like, yeah. But
I can
it's like,
imagine the
hey,
coordination. Yeah.
come work for us at Knox Brew Tours. We need you to memorize the script of 23 businesses. And which ones will let us go where and when and why and how to wash your hands and where they can stand and all that stuff. It's crazy.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge definitely accepted, and I feel enormously blessed and grateful that Zach here has given me so much creative freedom to be able to help to rewrite the script, to help to do the brewery Bible, which is really just a combination, all the stories of our breweries. Really allowed me to kind of put my fingerprint on that, which is a huge honor, and I really love that. But I really do feel like the breweries are excited to have us back. I've spoken to a lot of people throughout the pandemic, and the question is always, when is it coming back?
Yeah,
when is it going to happen?
Yeah, I've been having the same question. So
I'm going to brag on Candace for just a second.
Good. You should.
Part of her job is to help write the scripts for these breweries, and she has so far rewritten the script for one brewery, and that was Crafty Bastard Brewery.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she wrote such a great script that there's actually a piece of it that moved Aaron to the point so that they're now going to put it on every single one of their can labels moving forward.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Really?
And the sentence that Candace said was, Crafty Bastard is a middle finger to the mundane.
Ooh,
I love
I like that a lot. Nice.
And so
I'll drink to that.
I like, cheers.
yeah, we got to there's so much equipment everywhere.
Yeah, I'm afraid to spill something on there.
So moving forward, you'll start seeing that phrase, middle finger to the
I love
mundane,
that.
on
I
a lot
love
of
that.
Crafty's
Thank you.
branding.
So Candace, that brings me back around to you even more. So so you moved to Knoxville, what was it, 4 years ago now? 3 or 4?
So it is actually about 3 years now. So August of 2018 is when I finally made the move from Green Bay, Wisconsin.
That's right. Okay, cool. And you jumped right into the beer industry.
Yeah, so I knew my entire life I wanted to live here, and prior to actually driving here, I'd never been to the state of Tennessee. I just knew my
I love
entire
that
life
story.
this was where I was going to be, and turns out that was the best decision I've ever made. Also, one of the greatest decisions I ever made was looking up all the different breweries here in Knoxville, saw them all talking about a 1,000th tour. I'm like, what's this?
Oh,
so
yeah,
I
I
looked
remember
at
that.
the website, I watched the promotional video and went, mine. So during this time, I had already been doing brewery tours and working for a brewery pretty extensively up in Green Bay. So
cool.
when I reached out to Zach and said, hey, this is my background, I love what you're doing, I want to be a part of it, he's like, that's so crazy because we have an office manager and a tour guide who are leaving at the same time. I don't know how you found us, but yeah, let's talk.
I remember him telling me about
I will
you.
never forget,
Yeah,
though.
it was a Zoom call before Zoom calls were cool.
And you were excited, very
I
excited.
was, and I
We're all Zoom experts now,
Yeah,
but
right.
back then it took 10 minutes to figure that shit out.
But I tell everyone that the moment that Zach came on screen, I knew that he was one of my kind. I knew that he was one of my people.
Yeah.
That we just saw beer the same way. As
He had
a
on
way
the
of-
I
bunny
remember that
filter,
moment
didn't
too.
as a
He had
way
the
of
bunny
bringing
ears
people
and the-
together. No, it was such a great conversation, and I really felt like this was something that I could build and
Awesome.
grow with.
Very cool.
So yeah.
But
yeah.
you not only do you work with Zach and Knox Brew Tours, but you also work with Abridged.
I do. So
Yeah,
I
talk
work
about them.
for a Bridge Beer Company. I actually, so I got hired on with the Brew Tours, and within my first week of moving to Knoxville, I started just before at a Bridge for the Brew Tours. Well, a Bridge first, then the Brew Tours. And I actually helped to start up the Oak Room by Abridged as well.
Right.
So that's been wonderful.
Yeah,
and
nice.
thank you. Thank you.
If you guys haven't been to the Oak Room, you've got to get over
phenomenal.
there. Not now.
Phenomenal.
Not now. Stay here. But
Yeah, hang out here for a little while longer.
Well, so people come in here all the time looking for breweries to go to, and I always ask, what do you like? And this one guy was like, well, this is a really strange request, but I love sours, and my wife loves charcuterie. What do you recommend?
dude.
I was like, well, this
Well,
is
boy, howdy.
easy.
Yeah, right.
Believe it or not, we have an answer.
Have you heard of Black Horse Brewery? No, I'm just kidding.
But we love Black Horse too.
We do.
love
No,
that.
Black Horse is great. They just don't have
Great
charcuterie.
beer.
So they what are they doing in Alcoa right now? I saw that I haven't been by there, but I saw on
They
on
are
social
expecting to open a restaurant and brewery in
Wow.
Alcoa at the end of May.
media. Crazy.
And they
That's
have
awesome.
a now hiring sign up.
That's
in
what I
front of their
saw.
building
Yeah, I saw that on
currently,
social media.
Yeah, quick PSA, if I will.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone listening to this, watching this live later, doesn't matter. I have heard for the last 4 years, I get at least 1 or 2 messages a month from someone saying, I want to work in the beer industry.
Yeah, right.
How do I do that? Now is the best time
Absolutely,
ever.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm actually considering getting back in the business.
Do it. Please do
I'll
it.
drink to that.
I'll drink to that. yeah.
Definitely drink
I'm
to that.
kidding.
I have nothing.
And you've all been punked by Johnny Miller.
I'm kidding. I love the
But
industry.
Black Horse is hiring. I know that our team is going to be growing here at Knox Brew
Cool,
Hub.
cool.
Every brewery that I know of is, in a way, like this is, if you want to get your foot in the door in craft beer industry, now is the
Yeah,
time.
I agree with that. I see it all the time. Yep.
Also, I feel like we kind of cut you off a little bit,
Yeah.
Candace. Is there anything you want to add to what you were saying before?
Not particularly.
Cool. Just
I
want to make
want
sure.
to talk to Candace some more. So Candace has a can in front of her. It's called the Well-Being IPA.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of trends in craft beer, all over the years. IPA has always been reign king, but something that I've loved seeing are the low alcohol and even non-alcoholic beers. You
Yeah.
guys spoke about that in your brew news, but talk about that. Let's talk about those trends. And
Sure. So that's actually something that I'm pretty passionate about. The whole non-alcoholic craft beer trend, just because I
Same.
feel like beer is about building connections. I feel like I say that so many times,
It's
but it
true.
really is. You're building connections with people, and the last thing that I want to see is someone excluded because they don't necessarily consume alcohol, whether that be for one reason or another.
Right.
I just don't want to have people feel excluded for that. So.
Cool.
I definitely appreciate that it's a trend that a lot more people will hopefully get more into, and thankfully, as time has gone by, it actually is starting to taste really
It
delicious.
really is. I really love
is
this
so
one,
good.
yeah.
This one is
Yeah.
awesome.
I really believe I could give that beer to someone and they would not know.
Same. Yeah, I keep it on hand at home. I really do.
And that's just a shout out to Well-Being IPA for making a kick. There,
Absolutely.
I've had alcoholic IPAs that I liked less than that one.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
Same.
same
Me
here.
too.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. Some of them have very little hop character, but this one, I mean, it tastes like an IPA.
Well, and I know I sound a little bit like a broken record, but what excites me about non-alcoholic beers is if alcohol is the barrier to entry into this community, it's no longer the
100%.
barrier.
There you go. I love that, man.
Someone can still come in and make those long-lasting friendships and have a place that's safe and welcoming to their
I love it.
family
I love it.
and to give back to the community, and they can do all that and be a part of us without having to consume alcohol.
Man, I love it.
And I think that's really important, and I love it. It's
Cool.
just making us more inclusive as a
I love
community.
it. You guys keep saying inclusive and community and inclusion and all this stuff, and that brings me to something else that I'd love to see in Knoxville, and that's just the awareness of community and bringing others together. Ebony and Ivory, for example, their model is just about bringing community together and introducing people to beer. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I mean, I love that, and also harkening back to the conversation that I had with Aaron of Crafty Bastard. Like, he toured around the country and modeled his space after those community spaces that he saw everywhere else that he just didn't have here, and he knew that Knoxville needed a space like that.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Yep.
So last week, Charles and Tony mentioned that the show is too short and we need to make the show longer.
Okay.
I think they might be onto something.
Okay. Are you cutting me off?
We are running out of time.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that we just need to do this again.
Yeah, totally agree.
For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And maybe we do need to start the show at like 5:30, and so we have more time to hang out.
Nice,
But
nice.
before we get off
Yeah.
of here, do you have anything else that you want to ask or add? Or we've got about 2 to 3 minutes.
2 to 3 minutes. So I was thinking, on the way down here, I didn't really have like a list of questions or anything, but it just talking them through my own head about memories that I've made and beers that we drank. But I remembered when you did like maybe the world's longest beer run. Do you remember that?
Yes.
How can you remember? I mean, forget.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. Do you think you'd ever do something like that again? Or
1,000%.
1,000%. Okay.
Yes.
Can you save me a seat in the bus?
Absolutely.
Same.
Nice.
Same.
Nice.
Yeah, that was 21 days, 76 breweries.
That's crazy, man. So you've traveled a lot with beer. So what are some of the things that you're bringing back from? And you were in Austin recently. I know you've been up to Michigan, which is massive with breweries.
Okay, I'm going to get in trouble for what I'm about to say.
It's fine.
Perfect.
Your radio show, brother.
Where's your mother?
Or I guess I'll say I'm going to get in trouble with, I don't like to use the word beer snobs, but some beer snobs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There are a handful of people who feel and believe that the most important thing about craft beer is the beer. And
They're
I say
wrong.
shenanigans.
Shenanigans. Yep, totally.
The liquid is super important, and the liquid is fantastic, but it's not everything. I have gone to breweries that had amazing liquid and zero sense of community. I didn't feel welcome at all. It wasn't a space that I wanted to spend a penny or an ounce of my time in.
Okay.
I have been to breweries that had liquid I did not enjoy, but I would go there over and over and over again because they became my family. So the liquid matters, but it is not everything. That's my takeaway from my travel as beer, is that let's enjoy it, and there are spaces to critique it and spaces that we can get geeky and nerdy about it.
Sure.
But sometimes when we make it so important, it's blinding us from all the other things about that brewery that make that brewery.
Yeah, honestly, that's one of the reasons why I got out of the industry was just the constant critiquing and it's exhausting, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly.
And so the idea that liquid is king, I say nah.
No. It's all about the people, man, and the connections and being able to do this. This is fun.
And also, beer, that's my final comment on that. Beer is subjective, and it should be.
Agreed.
Candace, I guarantee, can attest to this as a tour guide. Every single beer I have ever served on a brew tour has been someone's favorite beer of all time and someone's least favorite beer of all time.
Yeah.
Right.
And guess what? They're both right.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite beer of all time?
I'll say this. I don't have a favorite beer of all time, but I will say if I was stuck on a desert island for the rest of my
I knew where this was going.
it would probably be Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. Unpredictable, aren't
Yeah,
I?
right. I knew without asking.
Yeah.
I was just texting with the owner of Channel Z, and he said, if you want to go a few more minutes, feel free. He said, time is not a problem.
Is that
And
right?
then-
Okay.
And then, we got live emo happy hour after this. So
Oh, yeah.
that's right.
So
With our
I
good friends
saw
Drake.
outside that you've actually changed that to emo sappy hour on the sign,
yeah.
which I love. So,
Yeah.
so if we got a couple minutes, let's talk about what you're doing down here, man. I mean, every day of the week you've got something else going on.
Yes.
Now's your chance on air to just talk about it freely. Just talk.
We try to serve good beer and good glassware and good company. That's our goal at the Hub, and we try to promote breweries. I know it sounds crazy, and I'm nervous that this won't work out, but to my knowledge, we're the only bar in the world who's committed to encouraging people to drink at other bars.
Well, dude, it's working out so far.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Fingers
Look
crossed.
Look at this.
You can go many, many routes, but you always start at the Hub.
The Hub. I hope so. Yeah, I hope this is the starting point.
That sounds like a jingle. Waiting
It
to
does.
Yeah, and as far as like our programming goes, it's constantly changing as we were trying to figure out who we are,
Sure.
who's our identity as a bar, who are our customers.
Sure.
Right now, our events tend to be a little more nerd centric,
Okay.
as we play lots of games. Chess Club,
right.
and Jackbox and GeoGuessr, which is literally a video game where you're trying to guess geography, which is like sounds awesome to me.
I love it.
But the average person would be like, nerd. And we're doing this new music bingo thing that we came up with on Tuesdays, and we're going to be doing some other stuff like that. So
Cool,
we
man.
just try to
Always a good time.
enjoy each other's
Absolutely.
company and drink
Yeah.
good beer and got a good glassware and good company.
Man, I love it.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, sure. Really, really proud of everything you've done, man. Your head is constantly spinning full of ideas, so I love to see when you're able to execute on them. And,
Well,
it's-
and between you and me, I'm sure this won't shock you. I would say that this battleship, for lack of a better term, is at like 40% operational right
Okay,
now.
cool,
I've got
cool. That's
about
better than
60% worth of ideas that have yet to be executed.
I love it.
Just wait till the beer nut competition comes out.
That'll be a featured game one.
What are we playing?
All right, last question before we get out of here. This is a question that I get asked a lot, actually, and now you have to answer this question. What is Johnny Miller up to?
So like I mentioned, COVID just kind of threw a loop in everybody's world, right? So I had this beautiful space in my basement, some tools and time, so I just built a wood shop in my basement, man. And
Nice.
my wife, Lauren Lazarus, is an artist, so I started building framework for her and a couple other artists around town, but that's just kind of grown into, well, tomorrow I'm going to install a $100,000 kitchen cabinetry system in Oak Ridge. I didn't build that myself, but but that's always been a passion of mine, so that's really what I'm focusing on, is honing those skills and just building stuff, man. Yeah,
Hey.
working with my hands for myself in my own home.
Hey, as soon as you're ready, let's schedule this 2.0. Let's do it again.
Okay. No, dude, I'd love to. I love being on there with you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, cheers,
I
man.
really
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hate to cut you off. This
Yeah, you're
is the
fine.
worst moment of my life.
I love you, buddy.
And
love
I can't
you, mean
wait.
it.
As soon as we turn the mics off, I can't wait to give you a big hug.
Yeah,
I love
can't
you,
wait
man.
to either, man. Yep. Cheers.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Johnny, for being on the show. We
My
really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
and I guess one final toast to you and your wife and your family and everything you guys
Thanks,
are doing.
brother.
And
Cheers.
And cheers to your future. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers. I love you. Love you, mean it.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Knox Brew Radio. As we pose for a